the same way you do with a nice whiskey. You sit down, you enjoy it.
Well, sometimes I work in the evening, and, I sip on a whiskey, or sometimes I'm doing something creative, or, I'm thinking about, some place I want to go, and I'm planning my next adventure or something like that. And I'll be sipping on a whiskey. I don't necessarily like stop everything I'm doing when I'm enjoying a whiskey. Sometimes I'm chatting with friends and also enjoying a dram.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Multitasking. I'll get a little sip here before we get into the next cask strength sample.
Yeah. What are we doing next?
This, first of all, the Madeira. What do you think? You didn't put any water in it yet.
I did put some water in it. I did put a spoon of water in it. It did smooth it out a lot. It did smooth it out a lot, but it's still hurting.
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt. That's why you need to bring it to the point where you still want that warmth. That heat is part of the experience, but if it's painful, it's too much.
For sure.
In my opinion. But this has a richness to it, like reminds me of bread pudding.
Bread pudding. Is that a specific? That might be a specific Scottish reference.
I always compare my whiskies to some sort of dessert.
Yeah. Do you? Well, some of them are too sweet. I'll be honest with you. Like, I absolutely hate when whiskeys are too sweet. Like all the American like bourbons and all this stuff. It's just, it tastes like licorice or candy.
Yeah.
I cannot handle it. It needs to be like dry and just rock solid.
Corn is a much sweeter grain to use, and a lot of American whiskey is dominated by corn. This is all made 100% malted barley, and barley, for whatever reason, is makes delicious whiskey.
It does, doesn't it? Like, I remember I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and we went to a bourbon distillery, and we did like a tour and stuff like that. And I just didn't like any of it. It just didn't taste. It didn't work for my palate at all.
I don't drink a lot of other whiskies outside of single malt Scotch, and that's not because I'm like just boring or
a whiskey snob
or tied to the brand. It's nothing to do with that. It's just like, hey, if I'm not drinking this stuff, I'm probably drinking something different completely.
Yeah,
a beer or a glass of wine or a cocktail. But obviously I've tried many ryes, many bourbons, many Japanese whiskies, many Irish whiskies, and there's amazing versions of all of those. But the American whiskies, they tend to be a little bit one-dimensional for me.
Very much so. I feel the same way.
Yeah, so not as interesting. Can still be delicious and enjoyable, but not really my go-to.
Yeah.